Welcome to Urban Legends with your hosts, Smartwatch, Neil and Chris, and Lugan Speaker.
Really? Sounds great. In prison, they call that plucking the penguin, I think. Look, mate, you get back to it. I've got to do the podcast thing. All right. Bye. Hello, didn't see you there. Hi, this is Chris from Urban Legends, the internet's largest urban legends podcast by volume. That was just Neil I was on the phone to. He's over in Danderyd in Sweden, catching up with his frenemy DJ Khaled. So he's left me to do this. I'm here. I'm actually under house arrest for lewd songs and behaviour. It's another classic one. We will be starting Series 5 next Thursday. So this is another couple from the first series. It's people kind of like might think that, oh, you know, just putting out some old ones, you know, like a clip show or something. It's not that. It's classy. It's retrospective. First one is Merlins Oak, which is maybe the most in-depth one we've ever looked at. Enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. It was makes me like, all right, this is a completely different thing, and this is far more of a I don't know. This is far more of an obvious arse, but if you've ever been to Rome and you go to St Paul's, and the amount of people, and the thing is, they're really clear on it now. There's big signs up saying you can't come in with shorts.
Huh? Can't come in with shorts.
You're not allowed to come in with shorts, basically,
because the shins are the
it's where the devil lurks.
It's where the devil lurks in the human body, isn't it?
Yeah,
shins and ankles.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, you can agree or disagree, but at the end of the day, that's their rule. But the thing is, it is what it is. It applies to everyone. It's not. So.
I went to Rome, but I didn't bother going in because I couldn't be asked.
Yeah, if you want to go to any of these places around, you've got a queue for fucking hours, which I have done, but it's just...
not
the Sistine Chapel and stuff, it's worth it.
Not my favourite building, though, which is the Pantheon.
Yeah, the Pantheon's nice. I mean...
Yeah, but you don't need to queue there, you just go in. And that's...
the Pantheon is generally just easy to get into, and you can...
it's lovely as well.
You can walk all around the outside of it and stuff, it's just if you...
I went around the Basilica and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't go in. I was worried that I'd just burst into flames on across the threshold. Like one of those Nazis off of Indiana Jones when they open the Ark of the Covenant,
or you just like rot away like the geezer,
which is obviously at the Basilica.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what's shorts?
Yeah, but you're not allowed. You're not allowed to go in with shorts. But the amount of irate people who are getting turned away, often American, to be honest with you. But I'm sure there's plenty of English as well. But it's just
we're not a very Catholic country.
Oh no! I just mean the fact that it's kind of like, but why? What do you mean I can't come in with shorts? How dare you tell me? I've been queuing up for like an hour, and it's like there are huge signs up, literally telling you this don't. Everyone knows it's in all the guidebooks. Put some fucking trousers on.
I go if I went in, I'd go in really really tight, flesh-coloured leggings,
flesh-coloured leather pants. Yeah.
No, just leggings, but going commando underneath as well. To leave very little to the imagination. Didn't say I couldn't.
I haven't carried it out, but my plan would be I'd get a pink sequined like thong and then just get some of those tear off.
What do you mean get?
Right. Where?
Use one of your extensive collection.
Pick out from my walk-in wardrobe, which just exists for
just for that.
Yeah. One of the pink sequin ones.
Which one of the walk-in wardrobes which simply exists for thongs? A, B, or C?
Wing B.
Wing B and floor.
Yeah, floor two. And then then go to the one next door.
So one of the older ones then.
Yeah. Well, I've had the longest, haven't I? And then get some of those tear-off trousers that they have the strippers have. And then as soon as you get to like the Peter, the statue, just
you can leave your hair.
Like yeah, exactly. Preferably my phone's playing as hot coffee or whatever.
And then you could get into a really kind of fun, embarrassing, like rolling around on the floor fight with one of the Swiss guards.
Yeah, it'd be my hilarious
knock his hat off.
TikTok video.
Cover yourself in butter
I'm an
before you go in.
This is my job.
You're just slipping around.
Well, I'm all up, so that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And the thing is, as well, they complain about that. I say, well, that's just Greco-Roman wrestling, isn't it? That's all of the most famous ancient athletes. I mean, let's face it, you've been banging on about the last 2,000 years all over town here. So, all I'm trying to do is just bring us back to a little bit of ancient stuff.
Look, don't you know your own history guy?
Yeah.
We're doing a bit of Greco-Roman wrestling to praise God. What's your problem?
He gave me the goods.
He gave me the goods, and I'm doling them out. He gave me plentiful goods, and I'm supplying the Romans.
Supply and demand. What, you a communist?
They don't like religion, you know. Well, watch your step.
Rendering unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Right.
Lovely.
Anyway, fair enough.
So there you go. Then there's some advice there from Trip Savvy. Vacation like a pro.
Yes, well, that's interesting actually, because I didn't know those things. So I would like to go and visit India actually, very much so. So
I would like to visit India until I read the stuff about people jumping the queue, and now I don't ever want to go there.
I wouldn't put me.
I think we should cut all ties.
Well, that's fine because you can push in yourself, then, can't you? I think it'd be quite refreshing to be very un-British.
No, you can't push in yourself though, because it's not built in. They do that. I remember when we went skiing with school, and there was like queuing for the ski lifts, and just like Italian men would just push little kids, like 5-year-olds and stuff, out of the way and push in the queue and stuff. I was like, what is going on here? Obviously, I was about 14 at the time, so I was bigger than an Italian man. So I just pushed back until they fell over. But it was just unbelievable that they would.
I mean, that's a bit naughty, but no, I mean, but it's
but we're skiing, guy.
It is the etiquette in each country.
Swish, swish.
Yeah, you get on a bus in Rome, and it is just fight for your place. Basically, there's no queue. Everyone, because the thing is, it's not even like like we just queuing outside the buses. It's just a scrum going towards the doors, and just try and.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan.
Form an orderly queue, Romans.
Yeah, just I'll get really passive aggressive.
Follow the British man.
I don't know. Queues, I think, are an efficient way of making things work. But hey,
they are an efficient way
for you.
What can you say about that, eh?
Well, we have such an amazing, vibrant economy and brilliant democracy to work it out fucking brilliantly.
Neil, I believe this week one of the reasons you're actually you've come over from Zamunda is
doing that. Cool.
Well, not really. Not really.
I thought we'd knocked that one on the head quietly about half an hour ago.
Nah.
Fair enough.
So one of the reasons you come over was to look into this particular legend. Is that correct?
That's entirely correct, yeah.
Lovely. And what legend would that be?
Now you're asking. Let me just go and see the person. Just get him to... I'm gonna hand over now, because obviously, the royal presence doesn't condescend to stay on podcast.
Are you handing over to the
English person?
Your English cousin?
Yeah, he's an English guy. He's funny enough, called Neil Herbert as well.
Nice.
Well, he's just called Neil Herbert.
No, it's you, Neil.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh yeah. All right, mate.
How are you doing? You've been working for this king.
Yeah, just trying out something different. Do you know what I mean? He's a bit sneaky. The
motorbike gang not working out for you.
No, one of my many failed ventures. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
I heard Uri Geller got banned for speeding in a Nando's car park.
It's a nightmare.
Oh, he's an outlaw, isn't he? Born and bred.
Rules don't apply to that guy. And I think the thing is, if you've got veins filled with adrenaline like he has, then
and anti-authoritism.
Yeah, it's in the bone for him. But it's just I was just fronting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just got to realise.
Where's Uri Geller from?
I believe he's Israeli.
Israeli, he is Israeli. That's right.
I believe
because you'd think that he was Croatian or something, but he's actually
Well, I'm not sure. I don't.
No, he is Israeli.
Yeah, I think he came over from Israel, and then but I think he lived in Europe for ages, and then I'm not sure when he came over to Britain, but like back in the 60s or 70s or something.
Yeah, and he lived in a little 2-berth caravan on the Neverland Ranch for a little while, didn't he? Just behind the monkey enclosure.
He's a big friend of Michael Jackson, obviously.
Huge,
not
best
one
friend.
of the hangers on, just desperately leeching from his fame. I mean, respect the grift and all that. Fair enough.
Only if it's in Leverage, the hit TV show.
Well, have you seen the new one yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I've watched them all.
What's it on?
Internet streaming services.
Oh.
No, because what it is it's on this thing called IMDb Video, I think it's called. And so what IMDb have done is they started, because of their notoriety, I guess it's a well-known website, they thought, right, let's try and do something different. And they started making original programming.
Yeah.
But Amazon Video bought it, IMDb Video.
Yeah.
So basically, Leverage Redemption is on Amazon Prime, but only in America. You can't see it in the UK at all. So I maybe watched it through. Let's call it an alternative streaming service.
Oh, your friend in America with a sling box. You made that has an international agreement. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I watched it through that. Yeah.
Okay.
I paid the rights that were required.
Good to know.
Everything is, all the T's are crossed and the lowercase J's are dotted.
No reason
Let's just put it that way
to get involved from his
absolutely
and laser us down.
No reason at all for anyone to look any further into this. It may have gone through several shell corporations. That's a tax thing that I do not wish to go into and legally don't have to.
Yeah.
But let's just say
it's not tax avoidance, it's tax minimisation. Perfectly.
The money was paid, and let's just say the cost of investigating it would actually mean that you lost money on the deal. So
what?
I'm just, not that there's anything to investigate, but just the way that I've got it set up.
Chris, everyone knows you're the biggest fan of copyright around. That's why you've got that copyright tattoo on your
on my cheek.
And cheek.
One on my cheek. I've got copyright written. I've got trademark on my cheek underneath my eye, like a tear tattoo, and I've just got copyright written on my forehead.
You're like the bloke from Memento, if it was just more obsessed with copyright rather than who murdered his wife.
Copyright law, yeah.
In case you ever do have anterior grade amnesia, so you can remember to respect copyright law. In case you inadvertently.
Exactly. And I've got
say for example, tape something off of a TV when it's copywritten. You wouldn't do it.
Yeah, wouldn't do that.
Crime people don't do it. Put your VHS tapes to less criminal uses.
I've got also on my chest, full size of my chest. I've got Creative Commons written on there, just to remind me to always release my stuff as Creative Commons.
You're open source, aren't you?
I am open source in every single way, physically and emotionally and creatively. So have I given you enough time yet to look up Merlin's Oak?
I was just trying to desperately think of a segue to clear on taking somewhere there. I almost managed to link Jeff Bezos to an angry wizard, but
Merlin.
We moved on. So, yeah.
It's not really a segue kind of deal here now.
No, fair enough.
We're a lot more jarring.
But later, just maybe from right angles, one subject to another. Right,
That's
so
fine.
The subject we're going to talk about today, and we're going to go back into the realms of British history. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Merlin, specifically Merlin's Oak.
Merlin's Oak.
Did a Merlin's Oak, Chris?
No, I don't know that I have.
I hadn't either until I was doing it. Obviously, I like to do a bit of research into Arthurian legend, keep myself sharp on that.
Keep yourself sharp for all those Renaissance fairs that you go to.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd like to know that my dialogue is technically impeccable. I think you'll find chicken legs weren't invented until the 6th century.
Why are these men drinking ale? Ale was not invented until the 11th century. They should be drinking honey mead or wine. Wine and vinegar, like the Romans.
Well, that's the thing. Is mead? Is it ale or is it wine?
Mead.
Yeah,
it's just mead. It's its own thing, baby.
Oh, no, yeah, no, exactly.
Don't stop trying to box it in.
Honey beer or honey wine, didn't you?
No.
Oh, okay.
I refer to you as honey bear.
Oh, that's a different kettle of fish. So you've heard of Merlin, obviously.
I have. He produced all those stickers in the 90s.
Yes. We don't need to sort of revisit Arthurian legends. We all know he was Arthur's wizard. But what not so many people will be familiar with, actually, he's traditionally associated. Like a lot of things from King Arthur are sort of now associated with parts of Wales. So Merlin's hometown apparently was Carmarthen.
Carmarthen, nice.
Yeah, in Wales.
Got a nice castle, isn't it?
So I hear. Yeah. There's a lot of beautiful stuff in Wales, to be fair, and a lot of history. So this is a tree that's been stood for thousands of years in the village of Carmarthen. And it's been linked to the wizard Merlin with a legend that when the oak shall tumble down, then shall fall Carmarthen town.
That's not quite as bad as if the ravens leave the Tower of London and England will fall, is it?
It's more localised. I think it's because he wasn't King Arthur, so he didn't have as maybe. Do you know what? Maybe he's just less. He's just a little bit more got a bit more humility. He was a bit localised. He didn't want the fall of the entire country just because. And also, it's just his tree.
But he's sick of the people of Carmarthen.
Yeah, do you reckon that was it? He got served some really bad mead there once, or it's just he grew up there and it was really stifling. And because they're proud of their styles in Wales as well, that they should be. I imagine Sheen gets a bit of praise when he goes back, for example. Or Timothy Dalton to name but two. Yeah, you reckon when Merlin was back in Carmarthen, they were probably all over it. It got a bit stifling.
Yeah, I know that
hometown hero and all that.
Yeah, I know my uncle Bob when because he lives in Wales, just outside Swansea, because he's Welsh, as well as Crastus, he's Welsh, and he gets carried around the village, gets on a little plinth, a little plinth, and showered with daffodils, probably.
Yeah, daffodils or dragons.
Dragons.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, they look after their own, that's for sure.
Yeah, quite right.
Not like us Southerners.
That's quite right too.
I'm having a look at Merlin's Oak here.
I mean,
it's not very impressive.
Are you looking at the modern one? Because the original no longer stands on the spot. So,
oh, okay. So it's the odd.
Are you looking at one that basically looks like a tree that was planted about 10 years ago?
No, I'm looking at one which looks like it's growing out of a statue base. So I think that is the original one.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, it's a very small tree to be thousands of years old.
Merlin's not bragging. He's got it down there. If you want to have a look, he doesn't need.
But did he plant the oak or did he turn into the oak?
Well, we simply don't know how he's associated with it. Maybe he just grew it himself. Maybe it's got nothing to do with him. We'll come on to that later on. But according to the locals, this was all part of. So Merlin supposedly comes from Carmarthen, and I believe actually that's part of the etymology in the Welsh or Brythonic. That the original name for Carmarthen is derived from the Welsh or Brythonic Merlin, Merlinville or something. What I would imagine is
Merlinopolis.
Merlinopolis. So I don't quite know how it became associated, or it's not recorded how it became associated with him, but it was a really popular meeting place for local people. because it's a nice quiet area.
Do you want to go down Merl Oak?
Yeah, go down Merlin's Tree. Go and have a party.
Go down Merl Oak. Yeah, full of some cans down Merl Oak.
Maybe play a game of cricket.
Let's go down Merl. Let's play a bit of football down Merl Oak. I've got a pig's bladder. Yeah, well, that's some mead.
Right old time. Well,
that's some daffodil wine down Merl Oak.
So it was okay. So this Merlin's Tree, important place for people to meet up, but not everyone likes that, Chris, because there's one neighbour around there. He got a little bit noisy for him, so he poisoned the tree.
Oh, what a dickhead! That's just something we'll talk about. Antisocial.
Yeah.
I mean, when did this happen? When did he poison the tree?
Would have been around 17th century, by the looks of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he
so
didn't
not
like
recently.
Noise by people made gathering there.
So why is the tree so recent then? The one they've got there now.
We'll come on to that in a second.
Come on to it.
Yeah,
it was probably the big storm of '87.
Because Merlin's apparently been associated with it since with the old oak since the 19th century, and supposedly he still sleeps under the hill close by the original location.
Yeah. Not been up to much recently.
He did. Well, he's been hibernating for quite a while. We're not a world of belief and myth and legends anymore. So,
do you think that's what powers him?
Yeah, it's like that kind of
children's wishes, stuff like that.
Have you just seen it all? Do you know what I mean? He's just sick of it.
Yeah, look, are United.
Same mistakes all over again.
Okay, and now I'm having a kip.
Been there, done that. I'm going to have a few.
Until I need it again.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure when the realm needs
Merlin 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Him and Arthur,
like an anime thing,
like one of those amazing double acts. So this tree's been poisoned, and then that starts dying off, and so eventually, in 1978,
it just shows you there's always been pricks around, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because you just kind of. I mean, history doesn't record who this person was, but yeah, that's pretty.
I hope he was clubbed to death.
Well, I reckon Merlin had something to say about that. To be honest with you.
Well, the thing is, it's like people. This is like an old version of what happened in Brighton in the mid-noughties, which is everyone wanted to move down to Brighton. Everyone
venues that made it good.
Yeah, because they wanted to come down because of its vibrant music scene and that kind of stuff. And then they bought houses near live music venues, which were cheaper, and music venues that had been there for 20, 30 years, and then complained at the council until the venues had to close down, and now there's hardly any live music venues. That's a similar thing to what this twat's doing, isn't it?
Well, analogous, yeah, it is, there probably was, amongst the groupings, I can imagine there probably was some bards doing a little bit of...
Yeah, I heard Oasis did their first paid gig at Merlin's Oak.
Yeah, that was led them on the way to Nedworth. One could never have happened without the other. But all these... Yeah, he's probably one of the really early NIMBYs. I assume it would be.
100%. Of course he is. Well, and you would imagine that the tree was there before he moved there.
Of course it was.
Inherited the house or whatever.
Yeah. You took advantage of cheap property prices in Carmarthen, and then you don't want to deal with the local meetings, which is what makes Carmarthen what it is.
Exactly. This tree is the beating heart of this town.
Yeah. It's very
central. Where we all meet our future wives and husbands.
Firstly, the tourist trade in about 300 years' time is going to really be reliant on this Merlin crap that we're spinning out of this.
It probably was even then.
It might have been, yeah. Do you reckon there was a roaring trade in people going to see Merlin's Oak?
Well, again, I mean, the whole Arthurian legend stuff really only got, or should we say, into the public consciousness rather than made up on the spot in the sort of 16th, 17th century, didn't it? During when chivalry was all the rage. That's when it all got written.
Yeah. Well, I mean, King Arthur was probably a real person, but he would have been a British Roman warrior chief probably in the 5th century. But yeah, I mean, all of the stuff that was done in was pretty much put in by the earliest tales, I believe, were done by the Welsh.
Probably John de Montfort or some shit. John de Beaufort.
Oh, there was. I think I've got this on here.
John of
somewhere.
John de Monmouth. I don't know. John did something.
Was it Geoffrey of Monmouth who wrote
Geoffrey of Monmouth,
the earliest British histories?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, he just made it all up.
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of the real world side of things. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what making stuff up is.
No, okay,
in terms of if it's different to the real thing.
Come from whole cloth from him. So there was the original person, and then the Welsh bards. I think were sort of like they were the earliest ones who were doing the tales, and then I think it was Geoffrey of Monmouth. I think was the guy who wrote that British history, and he had King Arthur in there. And then the French picked it up, and they added in all of the chivalry stuff. Because actually, yeah, everything about the sort of like the knights and jousting and all of that. So jousting, but all of the chivalrous stuff is very much kind of like 13th, 14th century French kind of
chivalric tradition.
Yeah, but lineage and stuff like that. So that was kind of added in by them as the kind of like the modern day. It's very much like kind of like taking something and modernising it now.
Well, what they kind of did was.
Like
they wanted
being Jane Austen in 90s California.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
But what they kind of wanted to do is make the history of the English crown seem kind of almost mythological and kind of like.
Well, I think they wanted to give some lineage to the whole notion of chivalry as well.
And lineage and all this kind of stuff, rather than what it really was, which is just people like just killing their way to the top. Because that's,
But it's like, people who think that, if people don't follow religion, everyone will be bad, because the only reason that you'd want to be moral is so you can get into heaven. I think it's the same thing with chivalry, to actually try and get people to buy into the concept and to sort of not slaughter their enemies, Because a lot of times you could probably be involved in one of those battles and then just get ransomed off, and then they'd be back fighting for the next one if you've got enough money.
Yeah.
You don't want people hacking you to pieces. So, I suppose there was a financial incentive for that as well. More to the point, but I think it was just trying to buy into that whole. The similar thing happens. I mean, when you read about Bushido and all of that sort of thing in Japan. I mean, people reckon
warrior traditions, like basically
all of these like the honourable samurai and all the rest. They reckon they were far more mercenary than was pointed out in the kind of the codes were all written in the sort of like 18th, 19th century. It was like
when warriors are kind of at the top of society, there tends to be like a military or warrior traditions and stuff that kind of come in.
How that pans out, and it doesn't generally tend to be the best for the people when you put the general of the army in charge of the country.
No.
I mean, I'm sure some people probably are quite fond of the Pinochet regime, etc. And
everyone loves Idi Amin.
Modern examples, yeah, exactly. So maybe not the best for.
No.
Yeah, and then you've got obviously what's his face? Was it Thomas Mallory? Did La Morte d'Arthur, which I attempted to read when I was at university. One of the most boring books.
Were you on acid?
Sadly not. No, I wish I had been. It would have been a bit more. No, it was back in my period of trying to sort of read some classics, and to be fair, a lot of it is quite good. But and I like the Theory and Legend. I really like Excalibur, that film they made in the 80s. It's good fun, and so I thought, well, I'll read this Thomas Mallory. The battle scenes are just the most boring that you could ever imagine.
Are they more boring than when you're reading a Russian classic and they talk about the peasants in the field and the proletariat for 7 or 8 chapters?
Yeah, because Tolstoy's got some theory about how he thinks. Well, Tolstoy actually did try and run a farm, and it didn't work out too well for him. But anyway, we'll get on to that another time. But
we probably won't.
His theory didn't translate into practice too successfully. I've forgotten where we were, but basically,
he poisoned it.
Some days poisoned an oak. Okay, yeah, and effectively, it's just dying off over time. But Merlin's made it very clear that either the town will fall down, or a lot of other people claimed that it was also in legend that there would be floods.
If a tree dies, you die.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, Merlin said, "Fuck with a tree, I'm coming for you." Yeah,
I'm coming for you with my magic.
So 78, they've actually had to sort of, the last bit of it's fallen down, they've actually had to chop it down and sort of like, they put a bit of it into a museum somewhere.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
Yeah, I think it's on the BBC.
When did this person poison it then? You said 17 something, but it must be 19.
I completely made up that date.
Because I was thinking, well, that was dying for a while.
Yeah, no, well, I think...
If it was saying 1700, then it was replanted.
Well, the thing is, you can kill a tree off, can't you? And it'll stay, because, I mean, all of the, trees grow from the ground up, so...
What?
They're pretty much... I mean...
This is news for me. I thought they grew down from the clouds.
No, but all of the external, I mean, the outside of the tree is all dead. Is just dead anyway, isn't it? It's really a vehicle for carrying water up to the top to the leaves and stuff. Via capillary action.
It's not dead.
So
you can tell if a tree.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the bark is basically dead cells.
Yeah, bark
it's
is.
Just, yeah,
but not the internal bit.
No, it's basically just a pipe for carrying, as I say, water up to the rest. The growth is happening on the tips where the leaves and stuff.
Yeah, that's where the growth's happening.
New growth is happening.
But if you cut into a tree, then you can tell if it's dead or alive.
Yeah, because it'd be green in the very centre.
Green. It's got sap.
The point is, you could kill off a tree, yeah, and it would stand for ages after.
Oh, it still stands. Yeah, it's got good foundations.
Yeah. Maybe you didn't successfully poison it. I don't know. But the point is,
I'm hearing a lot of I don't knows here now. I don't feel you've done your research. The king won't be happy.
Listen, Arthurian legend is by its nature oblique. There are many facets, some contradicting. So
Sketchy.
you know.
So the tree,
sketchy, poorly evidenced,
the tree
researched, poorly read out, poorly enunciated,
unreliable narrators.
You know, we're very much unreliable narrators of podcasts.
You might be. I'm not.
So, obviously, you tell the truth.
I'm like John Craven or something like that.
That's some big shoes you're trying to fill there, Chris. I wouldn't say
big feet. Got big presenting feet.
So you say. We'll see how that pans out.
Well, I don't actually have feet. I had my feet replaced, didn't I? Of course, with robotic hands.
I thought you'd bound them like a Japanese lady.
Well, that's why I had to have them removed and have the robotic hands put on there, which is useful.
You've been a hand model or foot model, I should say, for 3 Terminator movies now, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah.
And the terrible ones, unfortunately.
And the Terminator.
Yeah,
when you see it, I have, yeah. It was.
You look at CGI in real life as he does on film.
Very waxy skin, skin. Kept grabbing my ass, of course.
Of course he did. Look, that's how he shows you like you.
Said he was going to.
I feel like you were saying, just reading out that earlier.
He said he was going to terminate my virginity. And I said, well, I'm not a virgin. He went, you are to Arnie.
That's with banter.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
One man's inappropriate behaviour.
I mean, fortunately, I was a bit quicker than him, so I managed to get myself out of the trailer quite sharpish. But, I did get blacklisted for a lot of Hollywood parts after that and a lot of US political campaigns. But I'm hoping, what with the Me Too movement, hopefully, my robot hands feet might start getting the nod again for a few films if required. Maybe a reboot of Short Circuit or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that going down well in the modern world. Presumably, Fisher Stevens won't be reprising his role as the Indian scientist.
No, I believe he's playing a Nigerian doctor in this one.
Okay. They've not quite got the point there.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be fine then. It was the Indian thing.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, though. It's probably a Hindi thing. Probably a case thing they didn't like.
Yeah.
Consider Canadians untouchables.
So, tree may or may not have been poisoned in somewhere between the 1700s.
There's not a lot to this story.
1700s and the 1970s.
Somewhere between 500 AD and 2000 AD, a tree was poisoned.
Possibly.
Possibly poisoned, because some people like to get around it and someone didn't like that. There's no record of this.
Okay, so
now, so that's, and that is kind of
that's the crux of today's urban myth, is it?
yeah, that's
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I did right by allowing you to pick one.
the foundations of this house that we're attempting to build. So don't undermine it, for fuck's sake.
Right. Okay.
And like all good foundations, we're just trying to tip some rubbish in there before we
Some dead bodies.
save ourselves some time and money. Yeah, very much the Imelda Marcos foundation building. Right, so at some point this tree is poisoned because somebody doesn't like his neighbours knocking around it.
Mm.
And in 1978, more or less, they finally had to take it down. I don't know. It was presumably all those people still gathering around outside it, and it was becoming a menace and was about to fall over or something. Who knows? Who knows why? Who can tell? It's Arthurian legend. It's covered in mist and fog. And here's the thing, because they had said, the two things were around either the fall of Carmarthen town or some, as had been interpreted as well as flooding.
Mm.
Now, here's the interesting thing, Chris. The biggest floods in living memory occurred shortly after they took the tree down from the original spot.
Ooh.
And I was looking it up, and it's been being flooded ever since.
Really?
So 1978, they had floods. In 87, during the hurricane. You remember the hurricane in 87?
I do remember. I slept through it.
Yeah, so likewise. And so that caused a load of floods in Carmarthen as well. In fact, Carmarthen was more or less underwater after the 87 hurricane. And if you actually look up, there's still flooding to this day in Carmarthen. So 2020, 21, there's been loads of flooding as well.
Well, I mean, they were warned.
Yeah, well, they were told, don't keep the tree. It seems reasonable, doesn't it? And I mean, one thing I want you to do. One thing you got to do for Merlin, after everything I've done for you,
is, and do you know what? A tree doesn't need a lot of looking after. Just don't poison it.
Not when it's been there for hundreds of years. Really, in a way, I'm just seeing the protection of Carmarthen. What I've done here is, I've got this tree in place. I mean, granted, it was only planted apparently in 1659
by a school
when
guy.
Charles II came to the throne, presumably by Merlin, because he can presumably travel through time.
You would think so. That'd be one of his many skills. I don't think
it matters that it was planted, 1,000 years after, or more than 1,000 years after Merlin was supposedly knocking around. So yeah, he probably just, and
yeah,
I think it's claimed he even moved backwards 3 times. So maybe he did that before he met King Arthur. Who knows? But anyway, he'd let them know, and now they're suffering all sorts of floods. Some would blame this on climate change.
No.
But, the evidence suggests angry wizard.
I mean, it's there's a lot of rivers around that area by the looks of things. Just having a little look.
Yeah, I think there is a local river which gets flooded over.
River Towie.
With increasing frequency.
And, River Towie is...
So I think, we come to an end of basically...
That's it.
Of this action-packed...
That's all there was.
Episode. Yeah, effectively, there was a tree that was planted.
We've gone through that. I don't need. It's 2 lines now. I don't need it told again.
And it died. And then, but the village is now getting flooded constantly, Chris. Yeah, isn't that terrifying?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of villages are getting flooded, aren't they? So now,
well, I mean, did Merlin create climate change?
I mean, it's as. I don't see any scientific proof that
he didn't.
That he didn't know. It's as good a guess as any to why it's happening.
Have they adjusted for wizardry in their studies?
I believe that was one of the pillars of Donald Trump's climate strategy to try and force people to adjust for wizardry.
Yeah. I
okay, they haven't even adjusted for wizardry. Great wizardry, maybe the best. And there's outstanding wizardry. All right, then.
I think you'd be quite keen on dragging back quite a few things from the Dark Ages.
Yeah, like sleeping with your own daughter, that kind of thing.
When they got things right, let's put it. Yeah, hanging, drawing, and quartering. Anyone who chats shit about Trump on Twitter, hang, draw, and quartering.
I don't think he would like.
It's treason, technically, isn't it?
No.
Like not voting for him, it's treason. Yeah.
You see, the thing is,
He's in charge, you see. So
the thing is, all these people
don't vote for
who
him.
were like, it would be better if we went back to the blah, blah, blah. The thing is, none of them actually would like that, because in reality, the people who think that tend to be quite weak people, and they would just get absolutely beasted by pretty much 90% of people in the street. So they wouldn't be alive if it was those days. Do you know what I mean? So bring it back. That's what I say. There we go.
Exactly.
That's the lesson.
Reach a consensus. That's how I bring together the left and the right. Job done. I'm
Mad Max style future
problems now.
Some kind of medieval punk dystopian future.
Well, the thing is, because stuff
does medieval punk happen yet? Is that a thing?
Well, I don't know. Have you ever seen the film? I think it was called Doomsday. It was by the guy who made Dog Soldiers. So it's got Mad Max tribes in it, and a load of people who live in Scottish castles and act like they're knocking around in Braveheart, in the same movie. That sounds closest to what you're describing. So it's a choose your own dystopia. Basically, you can go from cyberpunk, or not cyberpunk, no, sort of like Mad Max, kind of like Duran video kind of gangs in an urban setting, or if you prefer a more rural medieval setting, you can go and.
Well, if you'd like something that was like Victorian London, but with like future stuff with cogs and steam running computers, that's what I'd like.
I suspect you could set that up yourself somewhere else. Scotland's a big country, isn't it? Plenty of land.
Why is it all happening in Scotland?
Okay, so there's a plague that happens up in Scotland, and we rebuild Hadrian's Wall, but like 100 foot high with metal gates, and shut them all in.
Finally.
Let them get on with it.
Finally.
Yeah, right, Nicola Sturgeon. Or probably more. Nigel Farage probably more.
So Neil, this has been a fascinating and in-depth one. I'm surprised this might have to go out as a 3-parter because there's just so much to get through.
Look, I didn't want to say this before, but this has actually been a backdoor pilot, Chris. I think this could be a new podcast.
What's that?
We could sort of really break this down, this story, and get into different facets of it.
Just the Merlin Oak.
Just Merlin's Oak. Merlin's Oak, yeah.
Merlin's Oak podcast.
Every week we just explore a different part of it.
Who was the man who poisoned the oak?
Yeah. Can we track down the man who poisoned the oak? What did they do around the tree? Why an oak?
Yeah. The history of trees in town centres.
What else is in that museum where they've put the tree? Presumably nothing particularly interesting.
Hopefully a haunted doll.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If Robert was there on loan.
Oh, that is such a good. Oh my God! Could you imagine if? Yeah, oh man, we should try and get some of these artifacts. Can you imagine? You can get like a.
Are you suggesting we become some kind of urban legend promoters?
Yeah.
So taking it on the road like a freak show? Because I'm in.
Totally. Yeah, if we could get like, it's like I went to see the Picasso Museum and they had like loads of like chronologically periods throughout his life. We could have, we could have Robert the Doll in one room, the Pascalita in another.
Mm-hmm.
Be amazing.
Yeah, wow. So Neil, I'm loathed to, but we will have to go through the Matrix. I'm assuming it's going to be a very...
Wow. I feel like the scales have fallen from my eyes. How didn't I know about Merlin's Oak? It seems like... Sorry. Yes, it seems like such a big thing that we should all know about it. How would you follow up something like that? Well, we decided to go to the bayou. And here is, from the first series, The Legend of the Rougarou.
Sorry, having a sip of coffee. So, for today's episode, we are going to look at an American urban legend, and I will try and not do a terrible Louisiana accent during it. But
Agent Star.
But I do declare that may not be personal, yeah?
That feels more, I don't know. Louisiana, I was thinking, yeah, I'm not going to attempt a Louisiana accent. Okay,
well, you were going to be more Gambit from X-Men, weren't you? And say, like,
I'm vaguely familiar with this character. Isn't his two things he's like immortal when he plays cards or something.
He's not immortal, but he throws playing cards that explode.
I saw there was a really terrible. I don't really know the character that well, but I saw there was a. You know that Hugh Jackman, he did all that them Wolverine movies, but then he did the ones that were like solo, that were really sort of like crap. I assume he was contractually obliged to do them.
I don't know that he was contractually obliged. I think he was financially incentivized.
Yeah, well, I mean, 6 of one, half dozen the other, in it. But yeah, because I mean, like the ensemble movies are quite good. It's quite good.
Yes,
but,
right,
well, there was just one. I can't remember if it's the same movie actually. Well, I'll tell you what, because it's got Will.i.am in it, and good Lord, Will.i.am is not a good actor.
Doesn't have to be. He's a fantastic musician.
Exactly.
And
he's
prophet,
got that much talent.
And entertainer, and shoe designer, probably. He's a Renaissance man.
Yeah, he's a man of many talents. But
acting not being one of them. Unless he was acting badly on purpose to bring attention.
Do you reckon it was like he was channeling like Bertolt Brecht, and he was attempting to distance us from, he's showing the deliberate artifice of this comic book movie and asking us to reflect on the actual message behind the art.
And perhaps about
he's done it again, hasn't he?
I think he's done it again. And perhaps
he's good. He's good.
Perhaps he was also turning a microscope onto lack of diversity in Hollywood. I think he could have been.
Yeah. And that would be why they had the really appalling CGI where it looked like cartoons were coming out of his fists when Wolverine did his blades. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all very Brechtian. Yeah.
You're not writing realistic characters for people from different ethnic groups. You're making them cartoon-like. But that's what they're doing. Yeah, it's always been Hollywood's big shame.
Wasn't there an Irish X-Man, X-Man or what it was called? It was called Banshee, and he was just a drunk or something. I've seen this somewhere.
I don't know if he was
Banshee or Leprechaun or something.
There is Leprechaun.
We had a drinking problem. Seriously, there's one called Leprechaun.
I think so. I'm not going to look it up. I mean, the thing is, though, that the X-Men in general were kind of a bit more socially conscious than other superhero stuff.
It was sort of a parallel for civil rights.
It was, yeah, entirely.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that the X-Men and the rest of the Marvel universe do kind of live in different fantasy universes, so they can't really be in any of the MCU stuff particularly. So, today we are going to be looking at the Louisiana werewolf, also known as Rougarou. So, Neil, does that excite you? You do like your animal-man hybrids?
I do. It's so this is based around Louisiana, isn't it? So it's like a sort of
the Laurentine
French-American kind of mashup.
Yeah, the Laurentine French communities. Yeah.
Neil, any kind of like man-animal hybrid.
One, do you know what? I feel like this is one which has increased in popularity because I've seen it in a few different bits and bobs recently. And prior to the last few years, I'd never heard of it. So I think someone, perhaps the Rougarou elders, are pushing it, trying to get it a bit more known.
Well, I reckon they've probably seen all of that, sweet, sweet Twilight money that's got all the vampire community enriching themselves. And they're thinking, hang on a second, because they've got like werewolves and that, haven't they? But they're getting none of that coin.
No,
they're thinking, well, we want a bit of this action.
Famously, the film American Werewolf in London poured so much money into the werewolf community in London that they were able to build Canary Wharf.
Yeah, that's Canary Wharf, and that's why Notting Hill became so gentrified. It's all of that,
Rich was the sweet
werewolf money.
So Rougarou. So I'm going to read a bit of Wikipedia, and then we can go into some of the more speculative, I guess, websites. So, in American folklore,
the more boldly explorative. Is that even a word?
boldly explorative.
Yeah, probably.
So, Rougarou represents a variant pronunciation and spelling of the original French loup-garou. According to Barry Jean Ancelet, an academic expert on Cajun folklore and professor at University of Louisiana at Lafayette in America, the tale of the Rougarou is a common legend across French Louisiana. Both words are used interchangeably in southern Louisiana. Some people call the monster Rougarou and others refer to it as loup-garou. I mean, generally what I like to do if I'm writing something is try and bring people in with the first sentence, but this one is just going on about etymology. The Rougarou legend has been spread for many generations, either directly from French settlers to Louisiana, New France, or via the French-Canadian immigrants centuries ago. In the Cajun legends, the creature is said to prowl the swamps around Acadiana and Greater New Orleans, and the sugarcane fields and woodlands of the regions. The Rougarou most often described as a creature with a human body and a head of a wolf or dog, similar to the werewolf legend.
I mean, it's very much like, it's Cajun thing, isn't it? It's like gumbo, just throw anything into the pot.
Yeah.
Have a wolf head, wolf going around.
I think the thing, so far, because the thing which is scary about a werewolf is the fact that it's kind of got half wolf, half human body as well, hasn't it? Because if it was just a bloke with a human body and a head of like a dog, I don't know that I'd be that scared of him.
Well, a lot of these classic...
Depends what dog. Maybe like the head of a Dulux dog or something, an old English sheepdog, then it'd be lovely, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly what kind of dog. Or if it was like one of those like little chihuahuas or something, then that'd just be like it'd be like LB, wouldn't it? It'd just be inspiring pity, really.
Yeah, it looked like one of the Goombas from the Mario Brothers film, which you so highly rate.
Well, I think that it's one of Bob Hoskins' better performances, but and I don't say that,
You're a big fan of the Hosk. Don't hassle the Hosk, that's what you always say.
Fantastic actor. No, well, it's one of the more interesting video game adaptations, shall we say it like that, but it's not to say it's good, but, I mean, it's not got a lot of competition, let's face it. Have they ever made a decent movie out of a video game? Not that you should try.
Has anyone ever done that, did you say?
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat?
Give that a firm no.
I think the problem with doing that is that because film people can't really get their head around video games or video game culture, what they tend to do, they just assume that people who play video games are basically teenage boys, which, may have been the case in 1990, but certainly isn't the case now. But they still have that in their head, so they just do sort of violent or sexy films, basically.
Yeah, I can see that being the case like a few years back. I just think it's just basically the writing of most of those things isn't necessarily going to translate very well into a film. But yeah, I don't know. There might be a good one out there, but I can't really think of an example off the top of my head. But anyway, to come back to your earlier point, because if you think about those classic kind of like, I was thinking of like Hammer horror villains or whatever. So you've got like Dracula and like the Wolfman and stuff like that, or werewolves. So if you think of like zombies are about our fear of death, and vampires, it's more of like an erotic vibe going on. I think with werewolves or this kind of thing, it's probably more of a fear of man's bestial nature or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about what it's metaphorically trying to represent. It's the kind of like, animal instincts or the evil that lurks within.
Well, I think also that I mean, there is that. There is also, or there was in medieval Europe, very much a legitimate fear of wolves because they would like come in your house and snatch babies and stuff.
And rabies is probably more of an issue. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. Complete speculation.
Possibly. Often the storytelling has been used to inspire fear and obedience. Oh, another one of them. Do you know what now? I'm starting to see a bit of a pattern here, that a lot of these scary tales and legends are used to get kids to shut up and go to bed.
Well, it's just something's got to work, isn't it?
They didn't have Calpol back those days.
No, exactly. Use whatever they can get.
One such example is stories that have been told by elders to persuade Cajun children to behave. That's a weird sentence. According to another variation, a wolf-like beast will hunt down and kill Catholics who do not follow the rules of Lent. I
mean, I'll be honest with you. If you're a Catholic, you've got enough stuff to feel guilty about and enough sort of fucking emotional pressure. Do you really need Guru as well getting involved?
Well, apparently this coincides with the...
I mean, isn't eternal damnation enough? You've got to get fucking murdered up by a wolf man first.
Yeah, so you get eternal damnation straight away. You can't even enjoy, I don't know, eating bread during April or whatever. So this coincides...
Just a filet fish, Jesus. I thought that was all right.
That
was in the rules.
Yeah, what's your problem? Why don't why have you made McDonald's so big if I'm not allowed to eat a fillet of fish? Well, because the clown made the deal with the devil.
It's your choice, my son. Off the hell you go.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I am God, but to be honest, I am a trickster God. I know that that's more of a pagan thing, but if you look at what I do to kind of set you up to fail, then I am pretty much a trickster God.
You're just sort of bored. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, you can't eat this. Here's 1 million of this in front of you. So this coincides with the French Catholic loup-garou
sorts out the wheat from the chaff
stories.
Anyway,
according to which the method for turning into a werewolf is to break Lent 7 years in a row. That's bollocks because I'm not a loup-garou.
But then you've never taken the sacrament, so you're already marked for hell.
Am I marked for hell? Because
only us Catholics. Oh yeah, you're going straight to fucking hell.
No, but am I, Neil? Because I've not even been baptised or confirmed, so it's technically I'm not even on the books. So,
oh, you are. I mean, if you've ever read Dante, I mean, you might get away if you for ignorance, you might end up in the first circle with Plato and.
I hope you're right.
Yeah,
they sound.
They didn't seem to suffer too much.
Oh.
That was nice of them, wasn't it? Just
what'd you do?
Just at a very high level of hell. I think I just seem to knock about in the gateway to hell. Really?
Yeah, that sounds all right.
Just going, all that philosophising. Wish we'd done a bit more praying of something that didn't exist 1,000 years after we'd been born. I mean, technically, I suppose they could have,
Well, no, technically
found a Talmud or something. But then that would have been only in the oral tradition at that point. I don't think they set it down until anyway. Whatever.
Well, I mean, basically, what's happening there is you're punished for living far away from the Holy Land, aren't you? Because it's not like there's lightning quick communication back then. I mean, by the time someone had codified it all, how long is it going to take them to get it to? I don't know. The Aboriginal people of Australia.
I don't know. Were the Atlanteans knocking around then?
Neil,
I assume they had some sort of.
Is that in the Old Testament?
Mobile phone technology.
The angels probably. Do you know what? The angels could have sorted this out, but no, they're too busy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever angels do, tit about.
And Mary knows that she's going to have a baby.
That's it.
As Jerry Sadowitz put it, he's fucking carpenter and he hasn't got the brains to look in the cupboard.
So, a common blood-sucking legend says that rougarous are you're under the spell for 101 days. After that time, the curse is transferred from person to person when a rougarou draws another human's blood. During a day, the creature returns to a human form. Although acting sickly, the human refrains from telling others the situation for fear of being killed. Other stories range from the rougarou as a rabbit to the...
That really puts me in mind. It's obvious for that.
Yeah, Donnie Darko. To the rougarou being derived from witchcraft. In the latter claim, only a witch can make a rougarou, either by turning into a wolf herself or by cursing others with lycanthropy. Ooh. So that's your basic rougarou. But from what I have read, there is some Native American stuff around it as well. So that's
okay, yeah, because I mean, at the moment, it just seems like it's got a real kind of like. So it's coming from that loup-garou thing. So a lot of it does feel like sort of French folklore, doesn't it?
yeah.
I don't know. Where do werewolves come from? Is that
Central Europe, you'd imagine, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Yeah. I wonder what the. I wonder if it is rabid dogs and stuff. They reckon vampires. There is a. Well, I don't know how true this is, but it's supposedly partly to do with Vlad the Impaler, isn't it? And then partly to do with people who had xenopigmentation. I can't. Or, pigmentosa or something. There's basically this disease that means you can't go out in sunlight. Although I would imagine it's incredibly rare. So truly, how much of an influence that has, I don't know. People mention it and sort of, but yeah, I don't know what would kind of like be behind the whole werewolf thing. It's being attacked by rabid dogs, I guess.
So I'm going to read a bit cool. It's from a website called Where Ya At. So where
is that a pun in the website title? As in werewolf?
No, it's a website which gives it tells you about dining, music, entertainment, and the best of the Big Easy.
Oh,
where yeah, kind of thing.
New Orleans culture, nice.
So, don't go too deep into the dark woods or wetlands in Cajun country at night. You might find yourself face to face with a tall, terrifying, bloodthirsty creature called the rougarou. Stalks through the sugarcane fields, looking for prey, tearing his victims apart, drinking their blood, and turning them into unworldly beasts as well. Even if you don't believe that he's real, you may want to take precautions, stay out of his way. See, I love all this. New Orleans is would you say it's the spookiest city in America? Because there's a lot of vampire stuff. There's obviously the voodoo. Do you think?
Yeah,
I don't think there's. It seems to be the most mythologized or myth-heavy city in America.
We've got the more interesting myths. I'm trying to think of a sort of what else would sort of compare.
Well, Los Angeles is just serial killers.
Yeah, no, exactly.
There's lots of kind of.
Also, Los Angeles doesn't really have.
It's about 100 years old,
kind
isn't
of
it?
like West Coast is only, they're not. I mean, the gold rush and stuff goes back to mid-19th century, I guess. But it's not quite got the same level of history as like Louisiana.
No, they're just like people in tents. So you'd imagine there. I don't know. There's something about Louisiana. Maybe it's because it's right due south. Maybe it's because it's in like the.
Well, I think it's the mixture
swamps.
of different kind of like cultures.
And it's a mixture.
As well.
It's kind of a hodgepodge of cultures, and it's kind of got the bayous and stuff around it, which are pretty inhospitable, aren't they? You'd imagine it's quite. I know, like New Orleans, a city now, fine, but you'd imagine that it's like there's lots of fucking snakes and alligators and shit everywhere as well. Quite a dangerous place.
Yeah, you're out and kind of like it was all sort of like a lot more rural and kind of like I think that really would be quite. Do
you know what? It's
what a vocative landscape.
I call it the East Anglia of America.
Oh right, you mean like kind of like misty kind of
lots of water,
swampy kind of places? Yeah.
So the story of the rougarou, also as known as the loup-garou, is not unique to southern Louisiana. It seems to have travelled from France to anywhere French people settled. Loup is a French word for wolf, and garou comes from the Frankish word garulf, which also means wolf. So it's wolf. The menacing.
Oh, fair enough. Sounds a bit tautology, but
the menacing half-human, half-animal mythical beast appears in French lore beginning in the Renaissance period, perhaps even sooner. Naughty children or Catholics who didn't practice Lent for 7 consecutive years might find themselves turned into one. Of course, those who didn't believe that the Rougarou is real merely said that these were fables made up to scare people into behaving. When the Rougarou, I mean, one thing which I'll say, from what I've seen on such TV shows as Cajun Justice, which is following...
that sounds promising.
It's following Louisiana police who police like the bayous. It follows them rounds. There are some characters down there, Neil, I can tell you. But people...
Any moonshine?
Oh, people are just off their faces the whole time.
I would hope and expect.
Drugs, moonshine, smugglings. You know, it is very much like the song Amos Moses by Jerry Reed.
Oh, brilliant.
But it's weird. I like these weird places. I'd quite like to go there. Just have a look at.
No, I would very much like to visit New Orleans and then just around that kind of those parts of Louisiana. Anyway, I just think it'd be really interesting. Obviously, music's a big draw. Yeah.
You see, I've always wanted to go to New Orleans, but I do wonder now that I don't drink, like, would it be a bit shitter? Because I think always in your mind you've got, well, they just drink whiskey all the time and listen to music. I'm sure it'd still be okay. I need to change my mindset on that. But yeah, but it's still very much something which people believe in down there and say that they've seen, and the police get called out, like, for sightings and that kind of stuff. So this is a living kind of legend that's kind of still going on now. When the Loup-Garou travelled to southern Louisiana with the Acadian people who were exiled from French Canada, its name evolved into Rougarou, though you might hear him called both. It's also been noted that he isn't strictly a werewolf-type entity. It can shapeshift into any animals that calls the bayou home. Laura McKnight wrote about the Rougarou for Houma Today and recounted a tale that appeared in 1971 Louisiana Folklore Society publication, where the Rougarou appears as a calf struck by a motorist on the highway, and when the driver got out of his vehicle, the calf had vanished, and an uninjured man, apparently a Rougarou, was walking away from the spot where the creature was hit. That's just what was the end game there?
Don't run down Rougarou; they're becoming increasingly rare. I mean, how often do you run into a Rougarou these days?
Well, I mean, it just sounds like probably this person thought it was a calf, but it was just a bloke having a kip on the road, and he just got up and walked off. I mean, it sounds like everyone in this situation was drunk. So the mythical creature doesn't seem to be as violent as your run-in-the-mill werewolf from the silver screen. It prefers to wreak havoc by destroying property or passing its curse onto someone else so that it will leave them. A Vermilionville information pamphlet for children reads, the legend says that when a person comes into contact with the Loup-Garou and sheds the blood of the beast, the Loup-Garou will then change into its human form and reveal its secrets. The victim then becomes a Loup-Garou for 101 days. If the victim speaks the encounter to anyone, it becomes a Loup-Garou. But if it remains quiet about it, he returns to human form and continues on with its life. So if he says, oh, by the way, I'm Loup-Garou, then it just instantly turns into it. So in the legend...
Yeah, how does that work? So is that the victim that turns into the...
it doesn't turn the person it's telling. So basically you can't say that you're a Loup-Garou because otherwise... Because if you say I'm Loup-Garou, then you turn into it. So you've just got to keep stum for 101 days until the curse passes.
Oh, so this is when you're... This is when you're in your human form, is it?
I would assume so.
I mean, they sound a lot like 60s rock stars at the moment, to be honest with you. Destruction of property, especially. I mean, because they're not sort of like, they're not sort of attacking people, are they? They're just kind of like tearing stuff up and having a bit of pie.
Well, I think it depends on who you ask. So, here we go. Human forms in life. In the legends, the Loup-Garou is said to be someone the victim knows, such as a jealous former friend. Like many creatures of night, it resumes its human form when the sun comes up. There are, Neil, ways to protect yourself from becoming a Loup-Garou. Apart, we're obviously be a good Catholic. The beasts don't seem to be the brightest beings, Rockstar again, and they can be easily outsmarted. You only need
Oh, I don't know. Has anyone IQ tested one of these?
Well, I mean, IQ tests
Unsubstantiated claim,
IQ tests have kind of been shown to be a bit of a false test anyway.
Yeah, okay, well, from that.
And interestingly, the IQ scale is called the Flynn scale after my surname. After I got over 5,000 on the IQ test, proving once and for all that it was pointless. No, the kind of the bell curve of where the average IQ is, because that moves. That was the formula or whatever for that was done by someone Flynn in the 1920s or something.
Because I was thinking it would be Neil Flynn from Scrubs, but evidently not, because I don't think he was around in the 20s.
Oh, was he? Does he play the prick?
He's the janitor.
Right, yeah, that's him. Yeah. So you only need to lay 13 small objects like coins or beans at your door and windows, and the approaching Rougarou will attempt to count the objects, but he can't count higher than 12.
Well, it's because he's not got enough fingers on his paws, or whatever you call
He
it.
will be unable to count all the objects, which will confound him to the point where he won't stop trying to count them all. He'll be so distracted that he won't be able to enter your home. And he has to leave with the sunrise.
Don't sing 99 bottles of beer on the wall at Luke Garrett. Get really fucked up.
Just imagine it going, crying.
I can't conceive of anything that high.
Oh, I feel sorry for him now.
What is bottle?
What is love? Not everyone down the bayou is convinced that the Rougarou exists. Oh, no shit. They may believe, however, in the power that legend holds over those who do. Knight explains, the creature has even embedded itself in local lingo. When Juliet Harry of Houma spends a restless night tossing and turning in her bed, she tells people, I made the Rougarou all night. Like a lot of Terrebonne and Lafayette.
I mean, that feels like a piece of slang that could be used to
a lot of things.
For many things, yeah.
A lot of Terrebonne and La Fourche residents, like a lot of them, Henry grew up hearing older family members use the phrase. And now her own children make the Rougarou on sleepless nights too. Some locals also use the word to describe a person who carouses at night, roaming in a rowdy fashion. Faire loup-garou or faire Rougarou means you stay.
So that's to make loup-garou.
Yeah, it means.
Or fair. Is that fair or fair?
Fair.
Fair is French.
Okay, fair. Yeah, okay, fair.
But fair loup-garou to make the loup-garou.
Yes, it means to stay up at night and run around causing disturbance, according.
Well, that's a good one. Try that next time in Paris. See if I understand. What's the city of culture?
Faire loup-garou.
Yeah, it's just, that'll be my explanation to the cops. Yes. Let's go straight to the shoe-in, shall we, Alston? It's your Burberry.
If you want to go hunting for Rougarou, you can start by visiting the life-size Rougarou at the Audubon Zoo in New Orleans, which has been thrilling and chilling visitors for decades. Sure it hasn't. You can also celebrate the beast at Rougarou Fest in Houma in late October. The brave at heart enter the Rougarou costume contest. Of all the strange things...
How is that brave? How is that brave, entering a costume contest?
Well,
I mean, it'd be, it would be creative and skilled, I'm sure.
Well, I guess it would be brave because...
Is it because you're imitating the creature?
You see, you're thinking that, and I think that's probably what they meant. I was thinking that it's quite brave to kind of dress up like an idiot and kind of parade in front of people. I
imagine that feels like a very New Orleans kind of thing to do. Well, it's a bit like Brian, like that. You could just... I don't think anyone would bat an eye.
This is in Houma. Yeah, which is a bit more in the swamp.
I was sitting by Brighton Station the other day, and I hadn't heard of this, but there was just a load of buses.
Oh, the new cycle thing.
They're all in the news. Yeah. I'd not heard of it because it's been going on for years, apparently.
Yeah, a long time.
And of course, the tourists all just like, oh, okay, there's a load of new people riding around. Yeah, fair enough.
So,
I assume that's a thing we do now. Apparently, we're doing it.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of it.
It's been going on for a while, mate.
I could imagine you do the same thing in New Orleans. It's a similar thing.
Well, the thing, like
We do that in April.
You know, the
Doing it.
Mardi Gras. That obviously it's famous in New Orleans or New Orleans. But they do it in all of the conurbations across Louisiana. It's not just a New Orleans thing. They do it in places like Houma and Baton Rouge and stuff. It's just it's very famous. Like obviously the biggest ones in New Orleans. So,
well, I mean, I think that's got a heavy component with the sort of African element, hasn't it? Because it's a bit like the Notting Hill Festival. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying they're the same thing, but I imagine it's got that similar component.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Treme, but it's heavily
impossible to find online.
Is it?
I've tried to find it about 100 times because it's done by the people who did The Wire, and it's got Bunk in it.
Yes, playing a Randy, not a trumpeter. What's the one? Trombonist.
You're a trombonist.
Yeah, and he makes some sleazy comment about, do you know what we call this up? Boom. Well, he's getting up to some business.
So, this is exciting. The last sentence is very exciting. Are you ready? I'm
all ears.
Have you tied your eyebrows down so they don't fly upwards?
Let me just get my plush loop. Get ready.
So, of all the strange things living across the south of the state, like, you ready? The Grunch and the Honey Island Swamp Monster. Oh!
All right, hang on a minute. We've got poses. So the Grunch sounds like a knockoff version of the Grinch.
Yeah, or
to avoid copyright. Just enough,
like a cereal, like a monster for a type of cereal.
One of the other ones sounds like the Honey Nut Monster.
Well, maybe they're both. So the Honey Island Swamp Monster. So Honey Monster and the Grunch, who is it just sounds like two cereal spokes monsters.
No, it was a really twee 90s band. Used to do stuff.
Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Sixpence None the Richer.
Honey Island Swamp Monster used to play grunge music. It was like grunge music, but they used like washboards and those
distorted loops
and those
loop with the fuzz pedal
and those wash basin bass things.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, and the blowing bottles. With the lights down, it's the stage. Something like that. So they sound like they're worth a look.
So what? You're gonna have to go into that a little bit more, Chris. So what? The Grunch. So what's the Grunch?
Oh, I've not looked up what these are, but I'll do it now. I've just got Louisiana crunch cake.
Fair enough.
Oh, no, that's because I've written crunch.
Reckon Jim Carrey's ever played a Luke Garou?
I've heard that he was going to be playing the Luke Garou hunter to James Corden's Luke Garou in an upcoming Christmas film, which sounds really good. I think Mike Myers wrote it.
That sounds amazing. Put Nick Cave in those roles. I'm watching it.
Nick Cave or Nick Cage?
Himself. Actually, yeah, Nick Cave and Nick Cage.
Nick Cave versus Nick Cage. Yeah, there's a meeting of two worlds there.
I'll take both, actually.
So I can't find anything about this Grunch character. And
we'll research him later. We'll come back to.
What was the other one?
Honey Islands or something.
Honey Island Swamp Monster, known as the Cajun Sasquatch.
Ooh.
It's an ape-like humanoid cryptid creature, similar to descriptions of Bigfoot. It purported to inhabit the Honey Island Swamp in St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. It has become part of Louisiana folklore, with many swamp tour companies in the area capitalising on its alleged existence. Oh, what a surprise.
See, I reckon that's just Bigfoot's gotten fucking sick and tired of getting hunted down. He didn't ask to be famous, did he?
No.
It's a bit different. Just leave him alone. And he's like, I'll go off to Louisiana. At least it'll be a bit warmer.
Oh, Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp. God, we've hit a rich vein here. Swamp.
Well, yeah, let's save these. We clearly need to get into some
first mention in
cryptozoology.
Yeah, just do a whole series on Cajun stuff.
Should we just start a cryptozoology podcast?
It's pretty much what this is becoming.
It's heading that way anyway. And then we can just, lose any semblance of facts. Well, what is fact anyway?
It's just...
if you read David Hume, then, I can't prove any of it.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, Dr. Fauci.
I think facts are just a blanket for the ignorant. You can
really, when you think about it philosophically enough.
You can quote me on that. That might be my new catchphrase.
I mean, I and nobody else will, but thank you for the invite.
Okay, so I'm going to have... Native American stories. There's also a Native American story of the Rougarou. This version varies from being a Bigfoot legend to resemble something more like a Wendigo. I don't know what that is.
I've heard of a Wendigo. He's again, it's a bit like an ape man, isn't it? Or it's like a hairy fella. Didn't we come across Wendigos in one of our earlier episodes?
A Wendigo is a mythical creature or evil spirit which originates from the folklore of the First Nations based in and around the East Coast forests of Canada, the Great Plains region of the United States. Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned it before. But yes, it looks kind of like a deer. It's like got a deer head. Seems to, according to the images.
Yeah. I can't remember. We did I've got a vague recollection. We did some like otter.
Oh yeah,
monster or something.
Yeah, that's what the one.
I think the Wendigo came up then.
The Kushtaka.
Okay.
That's the otter one because it's. I remember it sounds like Bush Tucker.
He's a good fella.
He's lovely. So there's been some dispute whether or not this myth is actually related to the French Louisiana Rougarou ones. It sounds like they kind of tag it in.
It might be a bit of an amalgamation. Yeah, it's a bit like in South America, you get kind of like things like the Day of the Dead. You get the sort of the Christian mythology sort of blending in with the sort of local religion, don't you?
Yeah. So you've got the French.
So the folklore, I'm sure, it sort of blends in, sort of the African and the Native American and the
very much like
French mythology all kind of blending together.
So a lot of the stuff in the Americas. So like with EBC, El Basilico Chilotto. That was a mixture of medieval Spanish and native peoples, wasn't it? And so this one seems to be they've kind of mixed in the werewolf from France with some native stuff as well. Right, Rougarou sightings. Some good pictures there, Neil. Oh, and a YouTube thing.
So have we got any physical evidence, like the Owl Man?
Well, there are some.
Because I'll be honest with you, there's a lack of commitment amongst our American colleagues to actually, citing these things.
Well, they'll get killed, don't they?
Good stories. Oh, that's true. Yeah. You come at the Wendigo, you best not miss. Well, I do remember there was a thing a few years back where some guys purported to actually kill a Bigfoot and had it in their freezer. I don't know what step 2 of that scam was supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I saw that. And it wasn't.
And
it was like...
I don't know whether they just got a load of people to sign up to subscription or something. I don't know.
I think
obviously they were trying.
It was like...
It was a grifter ahoy, but I don't know quite.
Yeah, and it was something stupid. Like, it was like...
it's melted.
It was like a bear, and they'd put an ape mask on it or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think somebody examined some of the photos. And it was sort of probably
I think
hard to do, but that clearly looks like this animal.
It was a bear with an ape mask that they got off the internet.
That's the frozen leg of lamb, right?
But that's some sausages.
That's clearly a party wig you've bought from the pound store.
two eggs for eyes. Well, party wig, but one of those ones that you used to be able to get, probably still can, which is like made of strips of foil, but kind of like rainbow coloured.
The thing is, Chris, this is just what the experts say. So,
Yeah, well,
Who believes them anymore? Why
would it have hair like that?
I think we've all heard enough sex.
So it can be camouflaged in rainbows.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's good protein in case it needs an emergency snack. Stick one of its own eyes, and it's a delicious fried egg.
Rougarou sightings.
That's pretty. I mean, that's a great piece of
That's good. That's nature. Nature finds a way. No, I'm not gonna.
The yolk obviously means that they can see better in the yellow spectrum, which is better for hunting.
Like a predator.
Yeah.
So I've got 4. That's on Pinterest. I'm struggling to find a lot of Rougarou sightings.
There doesn't seem to be too many anecdotes of people being attacked and stuff, does there?
No, but you've got to remember that the people living down in the bow mostly probably aren't on the internet. And, because it is very remote. So perhaps that's it.
So I don't know if you could hear that, Chris. I was just having a quick look at YouTube. Because there was a... Could you hear that?
Not very loud.
No, okay.
There's 9 real sightings of the Rougarou on YouTube.
Well, just Tina Bragg's and I went this. She just showed a photo, which really you couldn't see anything at all. But it looks like there has been a sighting for. Well, let's see what Scorpius has to say in the comments. For all the critics watching, know this: every legend fairy tale comes from somewhere, and each one contains a small grain of truth. Not everything in the world has been discovered, explained by science. So take a closer look at the facts instead of brushing it aside. Best to keep an open mind, because you just never know how true the legends may be. Well put, Scorpius.
Well done.
More in all awe of heaven and earth than this has been dreamt of in your philosophy.
Wow.
That's the worst quoting of Shakespeare
ever. So, that's about it for the Rougarou, I think. There's an upsetting lack of people coming forward, but there's a lot about him, but a lot of it seems to be rehash of other stuff.
Have a quick look and see what's happened in Mississippi. I'll give you a sec. Well, we've got some photographic evidence.
See that really obvious fake with the black dog man walking?
So I don't know if you've watched any of that, Chris. Wait until you get to Billy Teague about 2 minutes.
You haven't sent me anything.
Oh, it's in the comments of YouTube. Soon.
Oh, I sent you something in the comments of the meeting. Love this woman who constantly tries not to say "some bitch." Oh, spooky then. Very spooky. Did you see the picture I sent you of Luke Rougarou caught in April 2014 from an aerial footage?
Yeah. Well, I can't really make anything out.
What do you mean? If you press play on the video,
okay,
and you can see it's kind of like does look like an outline of an ape man or something ish.
Consensus in the comments seems to be it's a dog man.
That's so cool. Thanks for passing that, posting that, Wes. It also looks like a stump squatch. Oh.
A hirsute beast was roaming the swamps of North Ascension. Okay, yeah. See.
It could be a stump or bush squatch. So there's lots of different squatches out there then. But to be fair, I am on the website Sasquatch Chronicles, so
you're going to get a lot
of squatching.
I mean, yeah. So interesting. He's been, Luke Rougarou's been spotted as far away as Mississippi.
Well, that's only the next one up.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to go too far, is he?
No. It's rough terrain.
But some. So
we got some
mutilated cattle.
Yeah. So that's some
strange.
What do you think mutilated cattle's all about, Neil? Because that's a big thing in America, isn't it? And they look like they've had stuff surgically removed and that kind of thing, right?
I mean, that is odd because
they get that with the UFO stuff as well.
That's extremely. Yeah, well, look, I mean, there's a lot of that when they go with alien abductions, isn't there? It's supposedly mutilated cattle. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. It doesn't sound like just hoaxes because that would be very weird sociopathic kind of.
Yeah, I know, but it is weird, isn't it? The whole mutilated cattle thing, because.
I mean, I'd assume it's wild animals they're being attacked by.
Well, no, but that's the thing. They kind of say that if you look at it, it doesn't look like wild animals because it looks like they've had, like it's been cut rather than torn and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that is an odd mystery yet to be explained, I would say. Not that I necessarily think it's Rougarous or UFOs, but the whole cattle mutilation thing. What's it all about? You know, is it nutters? You know,
it's entirely possible.
Yeah,
stranger things have happened, but yeah,
collective madness.
Who
knows, Neil? Certainly not us, because cattle mutilations, as far as I'm aware, are not urban legends. So be damned with them. So that's someone else could deal with that. So, Neil, shall we?
Well, there you go. That's it for the classic episode. Series 5 starts next Thursday, so hopefully see you all there. Hope everyone's doing well. If you want to get in contact, usual stuff, it's in the description. Yeah, and hopefully you'll enjoy the new look and sounds for the new series. Yeah, have a nice one. Take care, everyone. Speak soon. All right, bye.
Antenna. Server. USB. Wi-Fi. Chip and pin. Busy bit.